All in favor? I'm sorry. How many votes for Michael Brown? 4. Michael, congratulations. Okay. Treasurer.
Maybe Alex Marriott?
Okay, how many votes for Alex Marriott for treasurer? Unanimous. Congratulations. We have a slate. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorin.
You're welcome. All right, ready?
Yep, approve the agenda.
All right, so let's hear from 1D.
That was quick, y'all.
Quick.
Congratulations.
The New Year's resolution.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Captain John Duro with the Metropolitan Police Department's 1st District. We cover the area south of New York Avenue. That's part of the ANC, so Mount Vernon Triangle and the Sursum Porta neighborhoods. Looking at the last 30 days, we have had a number of violent crimes that I wanted to mention. We just on Saturday had a homicide in the unit block of K Street. That was a inside scene, so it occurred inside a residence. We do believe the parties knew each other, and we have some leads. We're probably going to close that one out. It was almost like a domestic type situation. But still under investigation. We haven't released a whole lot, but I think they're going to close that one out. And then about a week ago, we had a shooting behind the Tyler House, which is 1200 North Capitol. We do have some video recovered in that. It was actually New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, early morning hours, about 3:30 in the morning. And we do think that was targeted as well. We have video of some suspects getting out of a car, approaching the alley, firing. They struck two subjects. One was a resident at the location, or someone that is there frequently that we know, and the other was working as a security guard, an armed SPO. So we're still working on that one. We actually had an officer in the alley at the time that saw the special police officer get struck. So we were right there. As you know, we maintain a presence there 24 hours a day, so we do what we can. Unfortunately, that still occurred. And then we've had a few robberies, more than usual. I think we've had 10 in the last 30 days, which is a little high for your area, but no real patterns. They're just kind of crimes of opportunity. It looks like everything from groups of youth, targeting someone, to kind of situations that we think are like drug deals gone bad. So it kind of runs the gamut. But as you know, we're out there. We're deploying our resources to the areas where we see violent crimes in particular happening, and Sursum Porta is definitely one of those. I think the Mount Vernon Triangle area, we see a lot less violent crime, so we're looking pretty good there. And overall, property crime is down significantly in the 1D areas of the ANC. Like double-digit increases, 30, 40, 50% down in the property crime areas. So that's where we are. If you have any specific questions, be happy to answer them.
Any questions from the commissioners? From the audience?
Sir, did you say increase or decrease on that property?
Decrease.
I
Yeah,
heard that
significant
decrease the first time, I
decreases.
thought I heard increase.
Yeah.
On the, that's behind me, but not in my district. On that shooting, right, you say y'all have it contained, or
Which one? The homicide?
the homicide in the house that was in Sydney?
It has not been closed yet, but I know they have some good leads and they're working it actively, so I think we have a suspect identified basically, and they're looking to close out.
Is that the townhomes or the buildings?
I think it was in a townhome, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you for
Yes.
coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, there's Captain Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. Happy New Year. I'm Captain Han Kim with the 3rd District. I'm one of the managers for Sector 2, which includes PSA 308, which is part of the ANC 6E, and also 307. Usually Sergeant Trestry comes with me. He couldn't be here, so I'll be filling on his behalf. The last 30 days looks pretty good. PSA 307, we had an increase of overall crime of 12%. That's kind of misleading. A lot of it that was driven by a few more vehicle thefts that we had. PSA 308, we actually had an overall decrease of about 25%. And then we're only 7 days into the new year. During those 7 days, And I'll keep updating you as these meetings go on. But we had a pretty big decrease all across the board. One of the things that we've been concentrating on, again, the violent crimes, we did have a few robberies that we were concerned about over the holiday, over the past 30 days. One of them was we had to look out for a silver SUV. I think it was a GMC that on the 20th of December in the 1200 block of 5th Street, actually the car pulled up to the suspect, the complainant was walking. Several suspects jumped out of the car, produced a handgun, and robbed the individual. The other one was, excuse me. On the same day in 700 block of Q Street, same MO. We were canvassing for that vehicle, and our officers located the vehicle, actually tried to attempt a traffic stop. Of course, the vehicle did not stop. Because that was an armed robbery of 2 individuals, guns were brandished, we allowed the officers to try to stop the vehicle. It actually went into the 1st District, actually went to the Maryland border, and we actually had to call it off because at that point it was kind of getting dangerous. So our detectives, our officers are still working on that case. So hopefully we'll have a closure on that case. Some of the notable arrests that I want to speak about, we continue to work on the 7th Street corridor. Let me go in order here. Over the past year, just the 3rd District units, this is not including any of the specialized units, we did have 171 guns recovered just in 3D. On December 14th, we had a sound of gunshots. This is just outside here, unit block in Hanover. Our units responded immediately, apprehended the subject. Recovered was a 9mm handgun. And then on, I believe on 7th Street, let me get this one right. Actually, it was 800 block at O Street. We got a call for a shooting. Our units arrived, and this is where the community, the citizens got involved. We got some really good witnesses. We got a very good lookout. Our officers canvassed for about 30 minutes, actually located the vehicle, stopped it. And through that, we got our detectives involved. They did a really good job, did some search warrants, and were able to apprehend 2 subjects that were involved in that shooting, and actually did a search warrant at their residence and recovered a handgun there.
What date was that?
That was occurred on December 14th.
Okay, I had that.
Yep. I believe the search warrant was done the next day and recovered a gun. December 26th, we had a very good tip for the 200 block of New York Avenue. From that tip, from that citizen, officers investigated. We were able to stop a vehicle, and recover from that vehicle was a .380 handgun, and besides that, we recovered really a large amount of drugs and paraphernalia. It appeared that the person was running a legal marijuana sales operation. So again, a large amount of drugs and paraphernalia off of that. On December 29th, our specialized units were conducting operations in the 1700 block of 7th Street. Again, we stopped an individual for dealing drugs, recovered some drugs off of that person, also a Glock 10mm handgun. And then the last one here on January 2nd, this is again just outside of the block, but very close. Unit block at N Street, there was a traffic stop. Individual was arrested with a Smith & Wesson .45 caliber handgun. That's it for 3D.
So, Captain, I have a question.
Yep.
So we had 2 robberies in 6004, and the first one you mentioned was, okay, so there was the one on the 20th, right? That's with the car and all that. And then what
Yes.
happened with the one that was on the 18th?
18th. Which one is the one on the 18th?
So there was the one on the 18th, this is information from you, was outside the 1100 block of 5th Street shortly before 9 p.m. So this is on the 18th. So there were 2 on 5th Street.
Is that one I emailed you on? Which one
I
again?
emailed you.
Email me. Which one was it again?
So it would have been, one would have been on the night of the 18th,
Okay.
and then the other one would have been the 20th. Or wait,
The 20th
Wait.
one with the vehicle was 2 of them. That vehicle and the suspects did 2 of them on that day.
were the same people?
we think they are.
Oh,
Exact same,
I
yeah.
understand,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exact same, look out for the vehicle, exact same MO where they picked the person walking on the street, jumped out of the car, ran his handguns.
So they just stayed on Fifth Street?
No, they did one on 1200 block of Fifth.
Yeah, and the other one was the 1100 block.
No, the one that we think is the same individuals was 700 block of Q.
So I'll resend you,
Okay.
I'm sure we emailed back
Okay.
and
Yeah, I'm
forth
sure we
about
did,
the
yeah.
18th. So, he said, this is an individual at the 1100 block of Fifth Street shortly after 9 PM last night. The person said he believed the suspect was armed with a gun. There seemed to be two.
I do remember emailing you about that one, yeah.
Okay.
I'll have to read through that back before I give you any.
Okay. All right.
I'll get back to you.
Did you hear about any gunshots on January 2nd, close to 7th and M or 6th and M?
Yes, so that one, we had calls in the 800 block of M Street, actually.
Okay.
So we canvassed there, didn't locate anything there, but we did locate a couple shell casings on 1200 block at 7th Street.
Okay.
And our detectives are working on that case. We have a pretty good lead on that one.
Okay.
That's the one, we had a white vehicle, look out for a white vehicle. Yes, sir.
So, firstly, I'm curious as to whether or not the resources that were provided from the Fall Crime Initiative continue to be available to you, or have they been terminated?
The extra manpower that we have for that, it has been terminated. That was never planned to go beyond that. But from that, we are still right now, and I think you'll see, still keeping our manpower in those areas. We didn't want to just, make it seem like we're abandoning the area. We've readjusted our deployment, so as of right now, those spots that we had picked for that area, I guess, those officers are still there.
And then 700 block of O Street and 1300 block of A Street. I know Sergeant Terrestri isn't here, and he and his team have been paying special attention there, but the issues persist. So do you have any insight into what's going on?
Yeah, actually, we're still deploying our units there. And I wanted to actually ask, I didn't get a chance to go over there. Did that camera go up there? The permanent one at 8th and R?
I haven't noticed.
Okay.
But I'm talking about 1300 block of A, so 8th and O.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's-
where a camera really would be very helpful.
Sure. I know that Captain Mack is still having her units there. And I'll check with her if she plans on doing any different deployment there. But I know Sergeant Trester's been doing a really terrific job there. I mean, I know when he's, and I don't want to make it seem like it's just him, and he has his units and other sergeants in the sector do the same. He's always down there, and anytime the officers are not on call, he doesn't come down there and patrol the area. So.
Thank you.
So I want to touch upon what Captain Kim was saying about the illegal drug bust and all this. So that there is a pop-up shop marijuana pop-up shop that I mentioned in a previous meeting is at our barber shop on the 200 block of New York Avenue. So do not go get a haircut at that barber shop, period. Do not support that person. And number one, if you see something happening at night in front of that barber shop at 9 o'clock or so, because that barber shop's not open, just call the police. The end, if you see it, if you're driving by, all my people that are in the room, just call the cops. Because no one's running a barber shop at 9:30 at night with the window shut and like 6 people out in front. So that's how they roll. So call them and the police will take action. Okay?
And that's another thing too, you make a great point there. I mean, unless we have a bunch of emergencies going on at the time, if we get a good tip with really specific details, I think the commissioner will tell you, we're really good about getting there right away. And if it's something that's gonna require a little bit of more work, then we do get our specialized units there to do that.
On the amount of guns that y'all have out on the street and the firepower behind the guns, you would think you in the Kuwait War.
Yeah, it's,
I want to know what was y'all doing about that. Do y'all still have the gun back
Buyback.
program going on, or share some light on
Captain
that?
Doran, do we still have that program?
I don't even think
going?
that's a permanent I'd have to
Yeah.
double check. I think that is a specific events that we that are sponsored periodically, but I don't think that's an ongoing program for the gun buybacks. But I'll have to double check and get back to you. Yeah, we were, as you know, there are a lot of guns. We see a lot of unacceptable level of gun violence, especially given that guns are very strictly regulated in this city. We recover a lot of firearms. I didn't go over our numbers, I didn't bring them, but I think just in Sarson Florida, we've had, I think, 5 or 6, in the last 30 days. And we have our gun recovery unit that covers the city. They recover a ton of firearms. Our officers do. We do a lot of work to recover these firearms, but I'm sure you've all seen the chief talk about it, just how frustrating it is, the amount of guns that are still on the street, and kind of the willingness of so many of the people out there to use them,
And these are dangerous guns, man. We talking about AK-47s, R-15s, MAC-10s, all these are automatic weapons, right? I mean, weapons that we used in Vietnam, and they on the street, man, they on the street.
Any other questions here from the audience?
Yes, I think there was a notice on this Nextdoor app that someone was shot at Fifth and in front of the same liquor store.
What?
No?
When was?
We'd be on it if one of this
Like
happened.
right now?
When was this? Oh, that was a robbery. That was what he was talking about, yeah.
Excuse me. And I think they've been robbed more than once recently.
Yeah, we're not lately, but this was an individual.
It's all in that one corner.
Correct.
And
Sorry about the street.
Yeah.
The two incidents that Rochelle mentioned
Yep.
on the 1100 block and 1200 block of Fifth, and then St. Lakers has been robbed twice.
Yep.
And that's all, right on that
Yep.
intersection. So we're very concerned about
Yeah,
that.
and especially, and I agree with you with the liquor store, but not that this makes it any better, but I think that with the vehicle, I think that what happens to be just a coincidence, that they happen to be in that area, and they were just, wrong people at the wrong time, right time,
Out of curiosity, I know since Saint's been robbed twice, you now have to get buzzed into the store. Do you know if they have a camera there also by chance?
They did have a camera when we were investigating the case, but it was, we did have some footage from there, yeah, they do have cameras. Yeah.
I'm just concerned about
Yeah.
that intersection
Yeah.
since there's a lot of activity.
And when we had the meeting last month, something I didn't know about, there was some kind of illegal market or something. Put it down as you said, selling things, and there's gonna be a thing to disband them.
Not so good?
I think he's talking about that setup behind Walter T. Daniel Library.
The faux homeless encampment.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
They said there was gonna be some kind of, not a raid, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
They would,
We even
they would give
Still
notice.
there?
Yeah, we even talked about it in the mayor's
Ethan Rhode
walkthrough
Island.
a couple months ago, and it was pretty large, it's about as large as this table, is how much stuff they had out there.
It's been reduced slightly in size, but it's still a nuisance and there's still drug activity there.
Okay.
Happy New Year to you gentlemen as well. Thank you for being here. The two instances where you had the armed robberies with the silver truck, I think you called it, was there any pattern in terms of the victims, in terms of having them stand out, or anything that you identified between the two that made them, just information for us to know that might be,
Yeah.
what not to do in the street, for example?
In that, no, but I can tell you, the most of the robberies we get are phone snatches. And so one of the things that I really tell the folks, and would love it if you could get the word out, obviously you should be able to do anything, normal, walk down the street with a phone, but that's just one of the things. If you're walking with it and you're just like this looking at your thing, that's really the highest, I don't know how it is in Wendy, but that's the highest type of robberies that we get, just quick snatches. A lot of these guys are on bicycles. They'll just ride by as you're walking, snatch the phone out of your hand. So we really just ask people to be just alert when you're doing that, or if you can take the time, just stop and just, put your back against the other side of the street if you have to make a phone call, just so you can be more aware. I know you shouldn't have to do that, but that's just one of the things that we do ask. But in those two incidents, no. No.
And I guess my second and last question would be, During last meetings, we talked about some activity in 502 Penn Street, a neighbor of mine. And the only incident that's happened since the last meeting is that I arrived home and police were on the scene and someone died inside that. Apparently, I have I can't comment on the cause of death or anything like that. Of course, the police weren't at liberty to say that when I was there. Well, I guess in a case like that, going back to our conversation last time, if there's a concern about lack of health care being provided in that facility and then someone dies, is there anyone who's looking into that potential angle of, basically here's the city funding care for people in a building and it's perhaps not happening and someone dies? Is there anyone, a detective on your side that's actually asking those questions and following the loop?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every death, whether it's suspicious or not, we usually send what we call a natural death investigator, or if there's anything suspicious, then our homicide branch does come out. So in that case, if it's anything that they deem it was negligent care or something like that, then that would definitely be investigated.
They would, okay, I provided whatever information. I basically filled them in, the officers, I filled them in on what basically the content of our conversation was at this meeting, just to bring them up to speed about sort of history on that particular building, what was going on.
Yeah.
If it's a care facility, you can report them to Adult Protective Services as well. I think they would have oversight of any kind of, care for adults.
Yeah, especially if you know or suspect that they're not getting the care.
Yeah, I don't have that information with me, but I'm sure you can find it
Adult
online.
Protective Services.
Well, this is,
Do you want to say something?
well, I would say this is a whole nother storyline to bring them in, but that'd be interesting.
Okay,
All right, that's a good idea,
let's
actually.
make note of that.
Yeah, make it, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Any other questions from the audience?
I did want to make, I looked up the guns while he was speaking. So like I said, the gun buybacks are kind of events that we sponsor periodically, but we do take tips, and there's up to $2,500 reward for tips that lead to gun recoveries, and you can make those anonymously. 727-9099 is the phone number for our Command Information Center, 727-9099. And also there's amnesty if you want to turn in any firearms. There's actually DC law that you can turn in any firearms, no questions asked. So those are kind of the 2 points.
You say 727-9099?
727-9099.
Okay.
And we still continue to push the camera rebate program. That really helps us out a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, great. No other questions? All right, let's move on. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so we have 520 Florida Avenue, Shaw's Tavern. About there, that they want a substantial change to their tavern license to support sports wagering at the operations. Who is here from Shaw's Tavern? No one is here. Michael, was someone going to come?
No, I didn't get an email. Did I get an email about this?
Yes.
I did?
Yeah.
But
did they
come before the alcohol committee?
Due to the holidays, the committee did not meet.
Oh.
did not mean.
You didn't get a phone call from them or anything?
I can,
We might want to talk about when they're gonna go before Abra though, because that's, I announced it in the Commissioner Nigro page, but that's not my area, so. No? No phone call from them, Michael, or anything? So we did get a notice.
I didn't get a phone call, no.
Okay. No outreach to you. Okay, we're moving on. Okay, Cloakroom, 476 K Street, who is here from the Cloakroom about their renewal for their license?
Tony.
Tony. Okay, Tony, come on up. So since you didn't have a committee meeting, Alex Marriott, do you want any feedback here?
As most of you recalled, our back and forth with Cloakroom years ago. Since then, we've had very smooth sailing. They've been an excellent neighbor. There was a couple instances in which there was some loud music, which was taken care of promptly. Tony's been the new manager of the Cloakroom, and he's been extremely responsive to my calls and text messages, and I appreciate that. And since we've had a couple meetings on those 2 instances in which there was noise complaints, and they've been resolved to my satisfaction. Since our meetings, I haven't received any complaints from any neighbors. And I'll let Tony talk first, but he and the Cloakroom have my support of their license renewal.
Wonderful, thank you for that. I don't have much else to say. I mean, if there's any major complaints from anyone else, please feel free to let me know, but, like Alex said, the complaints we got about the noise was coming from a rooftop, which was new. We addressed them right away, that's been resolved, taken care of. Other than that, we haven't had any major issues or anything, in the club at all.
So I have a question, is your
Yeah.
rooftop all seasons or just during spring and summer and fall?
This year round, it's climate controlled. Yeah. So. And, we did it, we call it a neighborhood rooftop, we want everybody to go enjoy it, take the elevator straight up.
Okay. Want to make a motion, Alex?
Sure, if nothing else, I'd like to make a motion that ANC 6E support the Cloakrooms Class C nightclub adver license renewal.
Somebody has it.
Oh,
Oh,
any
yeah,
questions? I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Oh, just any updates on the retail?
I'm sorry?
Updates, do you have any updates on the surrounding retail downstairs?
Oh, yes, I do, actually. There's a high-end Mexican restaurant going down, it's on the first floor and the cellar floor. It's actually 2 floors, basement and cellar. Very high-end restaurant by, my business partner is actually opening it up with a chef, Richard Sandoval, who's had, I think he has like 50 restaurants around the country, so give or take. It's gonna be a very nice high-end place with the outdoor seating and everything. It's gonna be beautiful. I can't wait for it to open. So.
Do you know when the opening is scheduled?
They were pushing it for spring. I don't see that happening at all. Yeah, as much as he likes to say it, I'm guessing midsummer. But they're on the fast track. He's has a construction crew out there. They started demo already, and he wants to push them. So you know how that goes.
Thank you. This part of my ignorance and not doing maybe research before asking this question, but having been in the neighborhood for over 10 years, is the cloakroom still associated with adult entertainment in any way?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So we got a motion,
No second yet.
Second.
second, we got
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention.
one abstention.
Okay, great,
Good.
thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Tony.
Okay, so we have next here 1615 6th Street, for, they're coming for us for 2 variances and a special exception for BZA. This is in Michael's area.
Is this Kristen Donnelly here? Is Miss Kristen Donnelly here? Kristen Donnelly? No?
No one's here?
Oh, we're here for
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I
yeah.
thought- okay,
Come on up.
Kristen Donnelly must send an email, okay.
Oh, okay. Anna Fraser from the zoning attorney
Okay.
office, maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hi, I'm Joey Yaffe with New City Construction. We're the design build firm that's working with Steve Neufeld, who's the owner of the property.
Hi.
Good.
Yeah, it's mostly a technical exception that we're looking for. The building, we're looking to primarily, there's a 10-foot rule in zoning, which basically says that in the RF1 zone, you can only build back 10 feet past your shallowest neighbor. And so that limits the ability to expand the building out to its legal lot coverage, which would be 60%. And so we have to go to BZA and request a special exception in order to do that. So that's what we did. We met with zoning committee and we presented the plans and the shadow study and all of the rest. And the neighbor on one side is actually out to the full distance so that the building would match that right-hand neighbor. And the left-hand neighbor is actually also owned by the same gentleman. So the only one who would ever technically be negatively affected by it actually owns the building next door. The other 2 variances are just technical ones. The building sits on a tax lot rather than a record lot, so in order to do an addition, we have to actually be able to convert to a record lot, and in order to do that, we need a couple of technical exemptions to the lot size and the lot width, which are essentially existing. So we're just taking the existing lot to convert from a tax to a record lot. And that's the full volume of the exceptions and the variance that we're seeking.
All right,
So the zoning and planning committee did hear the case and recommended that the full commission support the application. The vote was 3-0-0.
all right, so since they met with the board and zoning committee, I make a move with the proper motion that we support the 2 variances.
And a special exception.
One special exemption.
Okay, we support the 2 variances and the 1 special exemption for property at 1615 6th Street. And make a motion.
Can we communicate that to BZA?
And, oh, yes.
I'll second it with the addition of the written communication.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Commissioner.
Okay, so just to update us on the sports betting, we have time, so this is for Michael, and I'll send this to you later. So this is, the protest, if we want to protest, it is February 10th. So we will be talking about this again on our next meeting. So we'll have time to discuss and vote on it. Okay, Michael? Michael, is that good? Is that all right?
Yeah,
So we'll
it's
talk
fine.
about it
Yeah,
in
it's
the
fine.
next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we have 925 French Street. HPRB request.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Holmes Hummel. I'm the owner of 925 French Street.
Okay.
And as requested, I brought copies.
Great.
Along with the letter of support from our neighborhood association for a design that needs no variances. So we're not here seeking any exceptions. The background on this item on the agenda is that we live on French Street, which is part of a historic review area. Thank you. And the Historic Preservation Office. I've got one for you. The Historic Preservation Office asked us to, thank you. That's the letter of support from the Neighborhood Association. Here's the copy. And friends, if there's anyone in the audience who would be interested, I'd be happy to share the spare copies I have. The background on this is that feel free, just help yourself, if you don't mind. All of the row houses on French Street are in a zoning area for a third story. And so to protect the option for our house to have a third story, we needed to take that into account in a project that we currently are planning to finish the basement. Because underpinning the basement involves pouring the cement under the shared party walls, but without factoring in the weight of the third story, we could potentially underpour the underpinning and then foreclose on the option of any future owner to actually build the third story, even though it is zoned for that. So in doing the structural engineering process, our architect and structural engineer advised us to go ahead and develop the conceptual review, the conceptual design for the third story, because one of the critical factors is the extent of the third story given the visibility protection on the front side. So the key drawing among the packet we've given